All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on our webinar, Social Media, Building Your Community and Earning the Right to Sell. My name is Martin Morgan. I'm the General Manager at Repair Shop Websites, and I'm delighted to be with you all today for this webinar. A couple of housekeeping things I want to mention as we get started here. I'm happy to answer questions at the end of the webinar. If you would just go ahead and put any questions you might have in the chat. You don't have to wait till the end. If you have a question during the course of the webinar, feel free to jump in there and post something in the chat. Otherwise, we should be all good to go. And you can also use Q&A if you have questions as well. So we're going to go ahead and get it started. And first thing that I want to do is share 3 different stories with you. All right, as you can see, we've got 3 different folks on this slide here, and we'll go through 3 different stories. So on the left, you're a auto repair shop in a college town where many of the graduates may stick around after college, but it's a pretty good market for you. And this young lady, she has a auto repair need. It's a maintenance need, actually. And so instead of doing what we might consider somebody would traditionally do, which would be go to Google and search, she goes where she's most comfortable, and that is Instagram. She spends a good amount of time on Instagram. So she goes to Instagram when it's time for her to get service or maintenance, and she searches for auto repair shop near me on Instagram to find the shop that she would like to take her vehicle to. The gentleman in the middle is a senior citizen, and you are a shop in an area where there are a good number of retirement communities or a good number of retirees. And this gentleman, when he has a need for auto repair, he goes to Facebook. 2 reasons. He spends a decent amount of time there because he's involved in a couple of groups in some communities. He connects with his children and grandchildren to see what they're doing on there. And he's got lots of friends on Facebook. So when he goes, he is both looking at recommendations from the groups he's involved in, but also he's looking back because he remembers as he's gone through his feed, he's seen some posts that have been liked by some of his friends that he thought were very helpful to him and how to take care of his car. So he remembers that there was a shop that he had followed that he thought was really helpful as far as the information that they shared. So when it's time for him to look for a shop for auto repair, he's going to go to Facebook. And then finally, the woman on the right is a mother. She is ready to take her vehicle in for repair. She's having a challenge. She's got an issue there. She's not sure what it is. And of course, it's super important for her that she has a reliable vehicle for her children as she not only goes to work, but also drops them off at school. And where's she going to go when she's looking for a shop to trust? She's going to Nextdoor. She's involved in Nextdoor, in the community in Nextdoor. There's several other families involved in that community in Nextdoor. She trusts the other people in there for recommendations. So she goes to Nextdoor and asks, does anybody know a auto repair shop that I can trust? Got something going on with my vehicle, and I really need somebody that I can trust to take my vehicle there. So these are 3 really good examples of people utilizing social media for purposes that we might not think about, and why social media is so important to auto repair shops. Okay. So with that, where are we going today? We are going to talk about getting followers. We're going to talk about posting, and we're going to talk about engaging with the community, which are the 3 most important things that you can do on social media. But before we start diving into those 3 specific things, we need to talk about where to spend your time, because that is critically important to this process. There's a lot of social media, I mentioned Nextdoor when I was just talking about the three examples, and some of you that might be new to you, or some of you might know of Nextdoor, but not really think of that as social media. I very much would say that is social media. So there are so many places that you could spend your time. What we want to do is help you make sure you're spending your time in the right places. So the key thing to think about first is, where is your audience? So to the extent that you can determine who your specific audience is, we talked about three specific audiences in the examples. We talked about young 20s, college age kids. We talked about seniors. We talked about moms, right? So if, depending on your audience, where the majority of them are, and or if you've got more time, you can choose two or three, you want to make sure that you're investing your time where your audience is. So that's critically important. So what we want to talk about is, first, you identify your audience, then you want to understand, all right, where do they spend their time? Well, the good news is we've got a cheat sheet for you right here. And the Pew Internet, the Pew Research Center does studies on internet. It might not be every year, but it's pretty darn close as far as every year and what social media different age groups spend time on. Here, this is from 2024, and you can see this is percentage of US adults and where they spend their time on social media, or at least how often they visit these social media models or platforms. As you can see here, number one is YouTube, and we're going to look at the numbers on the next slide. This is a little more fun to look at because it's not all numbers, but number one is YouTube. Number two is Facebook. Number three is Instagram. Four, Pinterest. Five is TikTok. And then on down. And some of these are easier or harder to deal with. And I'm going to touch on that in a few minutes here, because it could be easy to just look at this chart and say, hey, YouTube's number one, we need to be on YouTube. But YouTube presents significant challenges that something like Facebook or Instagram does not. So let's look at the actual numbers here. And you can see this is broken up by social media platform and then also age group. And when you look at this, if we looked at the totals on the last slide, but if you look at this closely, I mentioned Instagram for the young 20s. And if you look at that first column, ages 18 to 29, the biggest social media for that group beyond YouTube. Again, I'll address YouTube in a minute. We're not going to really count it in this piece, and you'll understand why in a couple minutes. Is Instagram. So for the 18 to 29 age group, Instagram is used more often than Facebook, or through a higher percentage of people than Facebook. So if your target audience is in that 18 to 29 age group, then Instagram would be the place that you would most likely want to spend your social media time or your efforts, right? If you look now 30 to, and you can see across the whole group, Facebook is pretty strong, 68%, 78%, 70, and 59%. The next group that we had looked at was that 65 plus group, seniors, even if you look at 50 to 64, you're talking about 70%, 59% on Facebook. A lot of people are surprised when they hear that 59% of people 65 plus are on Facebook, but it's true. I can tell you the example of my mom and stepdad, they spend a decent amount of time on Facebook. They post on Facebook. They connect with friends and family on Facebook. So those folks are there. And then that middle group there, you see there's certainly options, and Nextdoor isn't on this. And it's not to say that Nextdoor is perfect for everybody. You may be in a community where Nextdoor doesn't even exist. But if that's the case, you're likely looking at, depending on where your audience skews, you're likely looking at Facebook, Instagram as some of the best areas where you could spend your time. But again, in your community, it could be a little bit different. What's also not factored in here is some communities have organically built platforms similar to Nextdoor. If you're in a community where that is the case, then I would encourage you to be active there as well. A couple of things that I did want to mention here. I already mentioned YouTube, and you look at all those numbers and they're huge. as I mentioned a couple times, we'll get to that in a couple of slides. The other one, and it's probably because it jumps out and sticks out and it's a platform that gets a lot of attention, is TikTok. And if you look at it here, 59% of those 18 to 29 are on TikTok, and 40% of those 30 to 49 are on TikTok. I'm going to mention TikTok in a few slides as well, but just want to point out, yes, there's a lot of people using TikTok. There's also the threat that TikTok could disappear in the United States. So I would hesitate to put a lot of time and investment in a platform that could be gone. I mean, let's be realistic. All of these platforms could be gone. TikTok has a better chance than any of them really right now. And you could debate that, and that's fine. The other thing is that TikTok does not really right now lend itself to the type of folks that we would want to be connecting with as far as potential customers for your auto repair shop. You might be able to convince me that if you were trying to recruit for technicians using social media, that, and especially if you were looking for young technicians or those folks out of trade school or working out of community colleges, that could be a target for you. But overall, probably not so much. All right, one of the reasons why Facebook and Instagram are so great, and what this is meant to represent, is there's a bunch of small circles, right? Lots of communities are kind of built out in small circles, and communities, I mean, the community that you're representative of could be your business community, you know, your city, your town, the community there. You can get into small communities, you can get involved in groups, you can target things much better. You know, there's much more community and places for you to be able to play. So you don't have to be a humongous entity in order for you to build a following and start to grow. The reason why I don't like YouTube is so much is because YouTube is massive and there are not really as many communities. It's just one big thing, and it takes a lot more time, effort, money, all of those things to be found on YouTube and to really make a name for yourself on YouTube because it's so massive. That's one of the reasons that I would say I'd encourage you not to focus on YouTube, because it is very difficult. And then I mentioned TikTok briefly, but you know, it's all about these videos that get quick attention. And if any of you have seen TikTok, and this is sometimes true of Instagram, it's just that Instagram has also built a search that works well for local businesses, is, you know, these memes, these videos, they last for like a 24-hour span, right? They're huge, they're hot, they're there, and then they're gone. And nobody remembers it because they've moved on to the next thing. And it's all about entertainment, which is the most difficult place for you to really get attention. So that's one of the reasons why TikTok is so difficult, even though it is popular and growing. The time and effort that you spend, you want to make sure that it's really cued in to your audience, and you don't want to waste that time. And what I'm going to try to do in each one of actually, I've already built it in, so I'm not going to try to do it. But one of the things I'm going to emphasize is what not to do in each of these areas. You know, what not to do when we talk about where to spend your time, what not to do. What you don't want to do is try to do everything, because most likely you're going to do nothing well. Then you're going to get burnt out because you're trying to do everything, and then you're going to quit. And you're going to look at it and say, this social media doesn't work for us. It was a big waste of time, effort, money. That's time I'm never going to get back, and it was wasted, right? So that's why I encourage you, focus on, especially early on, if you don't have much of a presence, focus on one thing, right? Then one of the things that we talked about in here, and we're going to really touch on at the end of this presentation, is how you can spend 5 to 10 minutes a day and have an excellent social media presence, right? That's one of the things I really want you all to do, really want to help you all do, because I know you don't have the time. You don't have the time to spend all sorts of time on these social media platforms trying to build your presence. So what I don't want you to do is not focus your time in an area where you can be successful and then, again, get burnt out and then quit. So don't do that. Focus your time. If you're starting out, or even if you've been in it a while, I encourage you to focus on one area where the majority of your target audience is, and do real well there. If you find you have additional time and you want to spend some of that elsewhere, for instance, it can be easier like a Facebook, Instagram type of a thing, because you can push things out to both because they're both Meta, then that's okay. But you know, if you're having difficulty with dedicating the time, focus on one platform, put your time and effort there. Okay, getting followers. This is key. You need followers. There's probably multiple ways to get followers, but if you look at the big categories, there's really two. It's ask and go viral. You know, we all like the idea of going viral, but the key thing here is ask is like the blocking and the tackling that gets things done. So you can find these types of things everywhere. How to go viral on Instagram, how to go viral on TikTok, you know, all these types of things where these marketing agencies, marketing companies want to highlight the viral aspects and how great it is if you can go viral. And sure, it can be. The challenge is it's really difficult to do that in a way that has sticking power. So they make it seem a lot easier than it is. More often, what we've seen is auto repair shops go viral for the wrong reasons. They get caught on somebody's video saying the wrong thing to a customer. You know, they go viral and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, like this is not what we wanted to happen. And their reputation tanks. So I'm not encouraging you to consider going viral, right? Or think of that as a strategy. If you're able to somehow produce something like a video or a post that goes viral for the right reasons, that's awesome. But it really shouldn't be your strategy. There's no substitute for putting in the work and asking customers and your community, your team members, your families to follow your business and build your presence, build your followers through that hard work. So how do you do that? Well, we always encourage our customers to get followers by building systems. What does that mean exactly? What are the systems? Think about the touch points that you have with your customers and just ask. You know, that was the thing that I started this discussion here on followers with is ask, right? So verbally ask during checkout. Whoever's checking somebody out, whether it's service advisor, admin, whatever it might be you as the owner or a manager. Encourage, if it's you, I'll always encourage you, especially if you've had a really good interaction with a customer, ask them to follow you. Hey, you know, it'd really be helpful if you follow us on Facebook. We really put some stuff on there to help educate the community. We give good tips, you know, share some of the things that we're doing, some of the community events we support. We'd really like it if you'd follow us there. So there's no substitute for asking face-to-face, follow us. Business cards asking for a follow, maybe with a QR code, right? So if you have these and you ask somebody verbally, you can also hand them the card and have them, if it's QR code, they could scan it right there and then, or take the card with them and share it with other people. You know, so you're asking verbally, you're giving the card that asks for a follow. You include that QR code that goes to your page so that they can then follow you there. But now you're just getting in front of people's faces and you're making it easy for them. Similarly, maybe you don't want to do business cards, but the other nice thing I should say with business cards, you can take them to a community event. You can leave them on tables. You can take them to other events you go to. You can hand them out all over the place. You know, if you have children involved in sports games, sports leagues, stuff like that, dance, any of those things, gymnastics, you know, share it with the parents, all those things. You know, a nice small card makes that easy. But another thing that you can do is say you don't want to pay for a whole bunch of business cards, put a sign in your shop, and from this standpoint, you can just print one on a printer, you know, and put it on the front desk or on the wall or something like that. And then when you ask somebody and say, hey, would you be willing to follow us on Facebook? Right over there on the wall is the QR code. Just scan that and you can follow us. We make it really easy for you, right? So put that sign in your shop. That's another way that you can do that. And then also QR code on receipts, right? You give them the paperwork, you give them a receipt. maybe on the back, maybe on the front, something like that. Follow us on social media, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, whatever it might be. You give them, it's already there on the receipt. They get the receipt, makes it easy. Again, they've got another takeaway. You don't have to get additional business cards. You're probably not going to be able to make it look as nice as it might look on a business card if you've got it on your invoice or your receipt. Excuse me. At the end of the transaction, but it does make it easy. And if it's just automatically included on there, that's really a system that's going to help you. So once you put these systems in place, they just happen. Like many of the other systems in your shop, they just happen, right? So what you want to do is you want to build it like it's a system. People don't have to remember to do it because they're always doing it. And if you build that in the system, that's going to help you get followers. And when we talk about community, we'll see some other ways that you can build followers. All right, so what not to do when it comes to getting followers? What I would say is what not to do is put all your time into trying to make that viral video that everybody's talking about. That's hard. Some of those video shoots can be difficult. Get sick of not seeing results. Let's say you do make some videos. You get sick of it because it's like, okay, well, I put this out on YouTube. I created my YouTube channel and I put this out on YouTube. But I created these 3 videos and they have 7 views. It was 2 other people in the shop and my wife are the ones that watched these videos. When that sort of thing happens, it's natural that you would be frustrated. What you've really gone for is you're just swinging for the fences. You're just going for the home run, right? And if you keep swinging for the fences, your arms are going to get tired and you're going to not want to do it anymore. What you want to do is really think about hitting the singles, continuous singles and doubles that are going to build your followership. So, don't tie everything into that one video that you're hoping is going to explode. Now, if you happen to have a lot, let's say you have a full-time marketing person, let's say you have numerous people that can contribute to these things. If for you, it's realistic to be able to spend some time in here building videos and getting it right, then by all means, and you're able to dedicate the time, or you've got a person who's just great with this stuff, I wouldn't discourage you at all from working to do that. But what I'm trying to do is gear this to, for us especially, our average client, the shops that we work with who don't have a lot of time for this. You want to make the best use of your time. So from that standpoint, trying to get all your followers just by hitting that home run for that great video is usually a recipe for failure. Okay, so let's talk about posting. Posting is really important. It's really important. So when you think about posting, and this is one of the questions we often get from customers, other people in the industry, it's one of the things that we see time and time again, auto repair shops doing this wrong. And that was another one of our selling points for the webinar, right? What are the mistakes that lots of shops are committing when it comes to social media? Easiest one to get wrong is posting. So how do you get it wrong? Let's first talk about getting it right. What do you want to post? 3 things that we always talk about: educate, engage, entertain, with a strong, strong emphasis on educate. And think of it in that order, educate. So why do you want to educate people? How does that help? So 2 examples we have here. One, best used vehicles under $10,000. This admittedly is from a couple of years ago. I'm not even sure that there are any used vehicles under $10,000 really at this point. So if you post something like that, I think your community is going to go crazy because they're going to be pretty excited to see that's even possible. So if you were to find a news article or something you could reference like that, that would be great. But more recently, car parts life expectancy. So that's great, right? You just think about it, and I think probably many of you, you know some of these things. And I realize some of you also may say, well, that's not what we would say. That's not exactly right. So you could create this post however you'd want to fit what time restraints that you would want, right? But as a consumer, right? Let's say I follow your shop and I start seeing posts like this. You're bringing value to me. You're helping me understand my vehicle. You're educating me and you're presenting yourself as a true expert in a way that's helped me. And a lot of it is like quid pro quo, right? Man, I'm seeing these 2, 3 posts a week from this auto repair shop, and every post I get really valuable. So I never miss those posts. I always want to look at the posts. And then you've started to build your name because I'm looking forward to seeing your posts because you're helping me understand my vehicle, right? I've got wife and 2 daughters, 18 and 20. We have 4 vehicles. I don't really know all that much about how all they operate. Most of what I've learned is through our customers and lots of stuff that I've been a part of in the industry. So this stuff is really valuable to me because, they drive 2017 Nissan Sentras because it was the thing that we could get at the time when we were in the market to get them. These types of posts are going to catch people's eyes and they're going to see it as valuable. So that's why I would really encourage you, think about how can you educate your audience because they're going to see those, they're going to take value in those. And when it comes to them, for them to need to get their vehicle in, whether it's a repair or maintenance or any of those things, you're going to likely be the first one they call because you have helped them. So education, educate your community. When you're posting, focus predominantly on educational posts. All right, the next one is engage. This helps build involvement. So you see the two example posts that we have here. Which one are you? Check engine light just came on. Are you A, ignore the warning light and keep driving, or are you the ones that call your repair shop, call Matt Davis right away? Let us know in the comments. Like you have a call to action there in a way that you start to build some engagement with the people who are following you. And then the other one, which summer vacation would you choose, this or that? You can see that one was from May 19th. Thought it was valuable though at the beginning of the summer season. It's almost Memorial Day at that point. People are starting to think, and they may already have it planned, but that's going to bring warm feelings up in them as far as looking forward to what they might be able to do over the summer. And then you start getting engagement, right? The best thing about engagement is that then you have people posting, you might have people liking, you might have people doing different things. And the awesome thing about that is as soon as you've got that engagement, then it gets seen by more people. Because if I like your post, then my connections are going to be much more likely to see your post. If I comment on your post, it's going to be even more likely. So if you can get your audience engaged, that's a great way to add on and build followers beyond just those that you might request. So talked about education posts, really, really important. Engage posts, also a great way to capture your audience, build a community around your shop and what you're doing in the community. Another type of post, entertainment. Entertain. Our friends at Wrenchway, they do a really good job of entertaining with their posts. They're a fun follow. If you're not currently following them, I encourage you to do so. The challenge here is the similar thing that we talked about with going viral, right? You might be able to get some eyeballs on your entertainment posts. They can be shared. But what I wouldn't want you to do is put all your eggs in the entertainment basket because it can be hard to sustain, right? It's another one of those things that it unless you've got the somebody who's super dedicated or loves this or is a paid marketing person on your team or social media person, these can be difficult to maintain, and that's okay. Like you don't have to post an entertainment post and people are going to expect you to post them every single day, right? If you have a great idea and you want to post an entertainment post, you got a video or something like that, great, go ahead and do that. Like there's no expectation that it's going to continue. What I want you to do is understand that that is the case. I wouldn't encourage you to dedicate yourself completely to all we're going to do is entertainment posts, because that can be hard to keep up. Other considerations for posting, something you want to think about is what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to represent? What do you want people to think about for your shop? You know, if it is that place where you've got expertise and credibility, then those educational posts are going to be huge, right? Somewhat alternatively, and you can see here an example of a hiring post. Facebook can be great for hiring. Same as is true for Instagram, right? If you're going to utilize any of the platforms for hiring, you want to take a little bit of a different approach to your posting. You know, if your idea is we're going to use social media for hiring, you want to show your culture, you want to show the cool things you do in the shop with employees, you want to show your involvement in the community, right? So if that's what you want to be, you're going to look at it a little bit different. But think about what you want to be when you think, and also another way to think about that is if you were to ask somebody in the community, you know, when you think about ABC Auto Repair, what do they represent to you? You can start to build that reputation, solidify it really through social media. So you want to make sure that the stuff that you post matches up to what you want to be. Another thing, and I mentioned this as I was talking through this, getting engagement and comments helps your posts get seen. So the more that happens, you start to develop your community, more likely you are to get seen. And also, you know, when people are sharing those things, the more likely you are to just get that follow, right? Because if people start to see, oh, you know, Joey follows them and commented here, I'm going to follow this auto repair shop too. Or, you know, Susan liked this post. This is awesome. Like, this is what I've been wondering about as far as my car. Like, it seems like the brakes aren't working. This explains it. I think I need to take it to the shop. This is the shop I'm going to take it to, and I'm going to like them also. That helps if you can get folks interacting with your posts. Similar, as I mentioned, get others to share or comment on your post, and you can do, you know, you can use plants on this a little bit. So get the folks at the shop. You know, if you let them know, like, hey guys, we are putting out a post on Wednesday. It'd be awesome if you could all like it, because we really want to get it out there so we can bring more cars in the shop. Or, you know, we really want to try to hire that lube tech that can help all of us as far as workload or anything like that. Your family, other people in your family, your friends, or, you know, maybe a business group or community group you're a part of. If you can get others to share, comment on your post, not only does it increase the likelihood that others are going to see it within their follower groups, but as Facebook or Instagram starts to see more activity, they're going to be more likely to show it to people in your community that aren't connected to you or folks who commented. So the more that you can get engagement on that, the more likely that you're going to be able to grow your followership and increase your presence and the awareness of your business. Okay, so we talked about some really good ways of posting and posts that are helpful. What not to do? Sell, right? And by this, I don't mean you should never create a post or post something about an offer that you have or something special or a key service. What I mean is you have to build your ability to sell, right? If I'm a new follower of yours and the first 3 posts that I see you post are, you know, buy, I'm probably going to either turn you off or stop following you. And that's the death knell, right? That is not what you want to happen. So what the formula that we will usually use is say that you want about 70% education, about 20% engagement, and about 10% sales. And sales is anything that is like, you know, bring your car to the shop. You know, hey, it's AC season. If your AC isn't pumping the way that you'd like it to, bring it to ABC Auto Repair. We can get it going for you. You know, that's mostly harmless. And if you're doing something like that only 10% of the time, that's going to be okay, right? Because you've built up your credibility with your audience. But if you're doing that every time, people are just going to be more likely to turn you off. And there's a lot of auto repair shops out there that think, oh, you know, this is what we're supposed to do on social media, and it's not. You're supposed to connect with people, help people, and build your community. It's not all about selling. But if you do all those things the right way, you will find it's a very effective way to sell because you've now built that community. So just encourage you all as you're looking at that, you know, don't just jump right into it and start sell, sell, sell. Build the awareness first and earn the right to sell. All right, engaging with your community, with your community. And there are several ways to do this. A lot of times when we think about engaging with community, we think about things similar to what we see on the left here. You know, a town event, a neighborhood event, something like that, a fundraiser. It might be a run or a ride or a walk or something like that. And those are all absolutely fantastic. For this purpose, we're going to focus more on the digital version of engaging with your community. So when we talk about engaging with your community, some of the things we want to think about: follow other businesses, organizations, and influencers in your community. Chamber of Commerce, other businesses you might be connected to, you know, anybody that you'd be interested in. What's really cool is that a lot of times what you find is if you find the right people to follow, they're going to give you a follow back. So now all of a sudden you're increasing your followers as well, right? Organizations that you support or you're a part of, or community organizations. And by influencers, I do not mean, you know, some crazy influencer that is, you know, Kendall Jenner's the one that like jumps out at me. I know almost nothing about her other than her name and that she's an influencer. I mean, like community influencers. So people in your community that are that people listen to that are influencers. You know, they might be somebody like town councils, you know, a mayor, a business leader, other folks that you're involved with there. Any of those folks would be good to follow because that gives you opportunities to see what they're doing as well. This isn't just a one-way street. The best way that you can be successful on social media is making it, again, a community, a two-way street. Then you also want to like and comment on posts, right? Because if you start doing that, you raise the awareness of your business. And to the extent that you can, you want to be able to like and comment on posts as your business, right? So it might be maybe an organization that you support does a post and they say, hey, we've got this fundraiser coming up on August 2nd. Would love to see you come out. And you go in there and then you comment on that and say, hey, ABC Auto Repair is a big fan of this organization and we'll be there. Hope that you'll be out there with everybody as well. You know, now you're building your reputation and you're commenting. You can like posts, all sorts of things, but you're getting involved in the community, which again, that increases the likelihood that people are going to do the same for you. Keep it positive. That is really important. You want to keep it positive. Remember, your business reputation really is on the line here. So if there's something that you see that you're just not a fan of, or even worse, you know, you think is maybe it's against your political beliefs, that sort of thing, better off just ignore it, move on, keep it positive. You want your comments to be positive as well. Show your support for the community, highlight the events you're a part of, organizations you support. That's going to help you, again, build that good reputation and show your support for local efforts. Like I mentioned, especially if you are involved in some sort of group or organization, some sort of not-for-profit that you support, use that for posts. Take a picture of you there, or take a picture just there, and then post that, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or somewhere else, or take a video and post it. That really helps and shows your support and gets more people involved, right? That's a pretty good engagement post, because you can always tag the organization in a post like that and just build awareness that you're a contributor to the community, while also helping support that organization even further. So encourage you to show your support for local efforts. All right, I've got a bonus for engaging with the community, and this is something that you cannot specifically control, but you might see it, and you might have a raving fan who will help you here. This is Nextdoor. I get some people who are on Nextdoor get emails, some people don't. Some reason that I got on the send this guy like 12 emails a day list, which really jams up my email. But the nice thing is I typically see a lot of things that are happening around the community. This is a perfect example of how Nextdoor is used, and aligns perfectly with the story that I used earlier. We've got somebody here looking for recommendations for a good auto mechanic in North Raleigh, if anyone has any suggestions. And you see, boom, just like that, right? You've got 3 different suggestions, one of them mentioned twice, and this carried on. Like, this isn't the end of the list. What you want to do is you want to build the community. You want to build the fans that when they see something like this on Nextdoor, they're going to jump in here and say, oh yeah, go to ABC Auto Repair. They really took care of me. It's a great organization. What you don't really want to do is do it yourself, because that looks really salesy. But if you have a fan or somebody that you can depend on, that would be willing to do this, if you find it, if you see it, you can always share it with them and say, hey, Bill, would you be willing to put a good word for us here? That would be super helpful. I see these once a week, once every 2 weeks. Somebody always looking for a good auto repair shop in the neighborhood. And the funny thing is, you think that they might go back and like search and find it, but that doesn't seem to happen as much. So it's live, it happens constantly. Something to keep your eye out if you're involved in Nextdoor, or if it's in your community. All right, what not to do. This is going to sound familiar. Sell, sell, sell. When you're engaged in your community, let's say you're commenting on organizations or other things posting, you definitely don't want to jump in there and say, hey, if anybody's looking for a great auto repair, bring it to ABC Auto Repair. That is not how it's meant to be used. And for some of you, I hope for many of you, you're thinking, well, I would never do that. That seems crazy. The reason why I mention it is there's a fair amount of people who will do that sort of thing. That is not the way that you want to get involved in community. If you get the option, if you get an opportunity, if somebody opens the opportunity, let's say you comment on something and then somebody replies and says, hey, I really do have an issue here. What hours are you guys open? Within a thread like that, then by all means respond, hey, we're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Give us a call, bring it right on in. We'd be happy to help you. Something along those lines. The other thing not to do, I mentioned this briefly, get political and offend others. Don't do that. I just encourage you, do not do that, because then you're going to get yourself in hot water. You're going to hurt the reputation, and it's going to be hard to climb out of that. We've helped some clients who unfortunately put themselves in a bad situation. And it's one of those things that it takes you 10 times as much effort, maybe even 100 times, to get out of something once you've done something that you shouldn't have. Okay, next section, and we'll end it with this, because what it really does is capture many of the things that I mentioned, because what I really want to do, as I mentioned at the beginning, is help you understand how to be successful with social media in 5 to 10 minutes a day. Because, as I said, I know you're all very busy. You want to optimize your time. We want to help you do that. So let's take a look at how to do that. First step, and this really isn't in this can be in your 5 to 10 minutes if you figure in it's going to take you a month or two to start. But first step, determine where your target audience is. We shared a lot of info early on as far as depending on age groups, demographics, where they spend time on social media. Determine who your target audience is. You're saying, hey, I want to use social media. I want to try to build our reputation, bring more people into the shop. You want to either base it by community, what your community makeup is, or what your specific audience you're trying to attract. So determine that first, because that's going to tell you where to spend your time. Then you want to build the system in your shop to get followers. We talked all about building the systems, making sure that you ask, making sure that you have either business cards or a sign in your shop that you can either hand out or have people see. QR codes can be great to help you get people right to your Facebook page and then follow you from there. So build your system. Like other systems you have in your shop, you want this to build, and then just happen, right? Because then you don't have to think about it. Nobody at the shop really has to think about it. It is just, it's like crawling out of bed in the morning. Like brushing your teeth. It's not even something that you think about. It just happens in your shop. So build the system to help get you followers. Then, or even before, don't wait until you have 1,000 followers to start posting, right? Just do it simultaneously. Start posting 3 to 4 times per week. Do what's right. You'd rather have 2 good posts that match up to the type of posting we talked about: education, engagement, maybe entertainment, but definitely education. If you've got the time, the time allowance or resource to just build 2 good ones, then just build 2 good ones. I'd rather you build 2 good ones than do 4 of them that aren't good. Because if you're not able to bring value to people, then they're not going to follow you, or they're not going to get value out of it. They're going to stop paying attention. So ideally you'd hit 3 or 4 per week, but you want to make sure that they're good. So if good means 2, right, then just do 2. So target 3 to 4 posts a week. Again, focus on education, engagement, good. Entertain, earn the right to sell, right? So you get this going, post it 10, 20 times, you can put in that selling post. Then post 10 to 20 more times before you do it again. So think about that. Post 3 to 4 times per week. Idea would be, again, we're looking at 5 to 10 minutes a day. So hopefully you can knock out a post in something like 10 minutes. Number 4, spend 5 to 10 minutes the other days. So on those days when you're not posting, or let's say you find the time at night, right? One of our account managers, Chris, what he always likes to encourage clients to do is, in the evening after dinner or before you go to bed or whatever it might be, you find 5 minutes, great. Spend that time engaging with your community. Go in there, look at some of your follows, do some likes. If it makes some sense to comment on some local things. And what you really want to do is you want to make it amongst this group. Or if you're early on, figure out who to follow. Spend this time figuring out who to follow. Chamber of Commerce, all right, who's connected to the Chamber of Commerce? All right, follow these business leaders, follow these people. These people people are well aware of them in our community. We're going to follow them, right? So just use your time wisely to build that up. And again, 10 minutes. Go through your news feed. If you find something good to comment on, go ahead and do that. If you just want to go through and like some, do that, awesome. But if you start to build that, 5 to 10 minutes a day really adds up. That's the thing. It's like with other stuff, all right? If you've read the book Raving Fans, deliver what you've promised plus 1%. If you deliver plus 1% every week, by the end of the year, you've delivered 50%. Similar thing here, right? If you're able to spend 5-10 minutes on this every day, by the end of the month, you've made a big difference. You've increased the people you followed, you've liked some, you've probably increased the likelihood that people are going to find your shops. presence there. So, you know, take that, devote that 5 to 10 minutes. If you have to put it on your calendar, go ahead and do that. But it doesn't have to be ridiculous amounts of time if you're using your time the right way. And what I hope is that throughout this presentation, you've seen how you can do that, and you've learned some things that'll help you do it as effectively as possible. All right, so that was the last planned slide that I have here. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you would go ahead and put that in the chat, which would be really helpful. There's also some Q&A option in there. So if you want to do that and use Q&A, please feel free to do so. My contact information is on the screen here. If you think of something later tonight or tomorrow or next week, please feel free to reach out to me. I always love hearing from shop owners, the questions that they have, whether it's social media or anything else related to digital marketing that we can potentially help them with. So please don't hesitate to reach out if there's something that you heard that you have questions on, because again, I just love to answer those questions. All right, looking here in chat, looks like I've got one question here. Let me see. Okay, quick question. Interesting. Related to LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn a good source or a good social media for us to be involved in? For your purposes, if you're trying to attract customers, I would hesitate to say it was. If you are, listen, if you're an auto repair shop owner that's highly involved in the community and you've got a good LinkedIn profile and you want to connect to other business people in your community, would certainly encourage you to do so. If you're targeting businesses, let's say you're located in a commercial area where there's a fair amount of businesses, and let's say you know some of the folks that are there and you want to connect with them and do some posting, that could be a good use case for it. But I would say if you're looking especially for like your primary focus area, I wouldn't really recommend LinkedIn. All right, let me see. Okay, right now I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. As I mentioned, I hope you found some valuable information covered here. If I can help answer any questions or anything that you have related to it, you've got my contact information here. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And I should say, related to social media or anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, really appreciate you participating in the webinar and hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care. Thank you.